Hello and welcome to another Football Manager 2015 video. Today we're going to be taking a look at transfers. Now, with transfers there are really two main areas we need to look at. The first is the actual negotiating for the player, and the second is the contract negotiations. For that reason I'm probably going to split this into two videos, otherwise I'll be sitting here for about 45 minutes talking about both of them. So this video is just going to be about the negotiations for the player, and then I'll follow up with the contract video. First thing really to note with transfers is that down the left, like with most areas of the game, there's a section for transfers. If you click on it, it gives you a basic overview of all the transfer activity that's currently happening in your club. You can filter by incoming and outgoing transfers and all that kind of business. As you can see, I've currently got nothing going on, but I just thought that would be useful for you to know. Right, so if you've watched my previous video on scouting, which is excellent by the way, and you should watch it, you've probably identified a player that you'd like to try and sign. Now if we just I'm just going to pick a player. Where is he? I know who I'm going to use already. Schneiderlin, there we go. Okay, so first things first, as you can see here, the player has a value. Now this value is made up of a few different things. It's made up of the player's age, the player's ability, the player's form, and the player's contract, and how long is left on the contract. All those things combined make this value. So that value goes up and down throughout the game. When you're making an offer for the player, if you bid the value, it doesn't mean you're going to get the player. You have to work out how much to bid relative to the value. And you have to, it's kind of, a lot of it comes down to intuition and experience, knowing how much to bid. You get a feel for it after you've played the game for a while, but there is a way to bid for players without having too much experience with the game, and that is to get a scouting report and then have a look at the scouting report, scroll down on the pros and have a look at estimated cost. Although I think if it's an outrageous amount or they're unlikely to sell for any price, it'll be under cons, but whatever, there'll be an estimated cost section, and here your scouts give you a kind of ballpark figure for how much the player is going to cost you, or how much you're going to have to pay to have the offer accepted by the club. So as you can see here, 12.25 is the lowest that they reckon Southampton will accept. So what we'll do is we'll go make an offer, which by the way, to do that you go to transfer up here at the top and then click make an offer. Let's bid 12.75, which is what my scouts reckon the minimum value is. You've got two ways of bidding here. You've got this button, suggest terms, which gets you an immediate response from the club, and you've got make an offer, which takes a day or two to get a response from the club. It's usually best to start off with suggest terms, but if they're unhappy with their offer, then they'll stop replying straight away. But anyway, let's go ahead and do this. As you can see, they've negotiated straight away to 28 million. Let's take a couple of mil off, 26 million, let's see if they'll go for that. And they've accepted that. So you negotiate back and forth that way. But as I'll demonstrate, there is because the problem with that is we've got an offer accepted for 26 million, but you can see my transfer budget up here is only 15 million, so that's still not going to fly. So what can we do? Well, let's offer an initial 5 million, and then we can throw in some additional fees. So we've got monthly instalments. Let's whap that up to 48 months. And then add 15 million. There we've got 15 million pounds, but spread out over 48 months. So rather than the whole transfer now costing us 20 million, the actual transfer budget cost is only now 8 million, even though, as we can see over here, the potential value is 20 million. We can rack that up further by saying after 50 league games we'll pay them 2.5 million. After international appearances, say 20 games, we'll pay another 2.5 million. After league goals, 50 goals, we'll pay them, I don't know, he's a midfielder, so let's say 5 million. These are useful because say you put in this one, after 50 games you'll pay them 2.5 million. Chances are, if a player's gone on to make 50 appearances for you, then he's worth the extra 2.5 million. And likewise with minimum goals, if a midfielder has scored me 50 goals, I'd consider him to be a quality player, so I don't mind paying the extra 5 million. And of course, if they don't make the 50 appearances, you don't pay that fee. So if they flop, you don't pay that. So that's good all round. The downside of all these clauses, especially the 48-month instalments one, is that if you do this for all the players you're buying, then you can end up hemorrhaging money every month. And you don't want to do that, because on this game you can drive your club into administration, and you can actually fail the FIFA financial fair play rules. So you want to be careful with what you're doing here. But as you can see, that leaves us with a transfer budget cost of 8 million out of my 15, and the value of the transfer is 30 million. We can also throw in some additional clauses to sweeten the deal. So we've got loan back length, which is useful if you're buying a young player from, like if I was buying a young player from a championship squad, I would include loan back length so that they can go back to that club straight away and get more experience. But obviously for Schneiderlin that's not really appropriate. Percentage of profit from next sale and percentage of next sale, they are pretty self-explanatory, they're decent to use. Buyback price is the price that they can pay to buy him back off me, but I'm not going to bother using that. I rarely use that. Likewise, selling team wage contribution is how much I'm asking them to contribute to the wages after I've signed him. I've never used that personally, so I'm not sure how much use that would be. And arrange friendly is basically what, as the name would suggest, you would arrange a friendly with this team at the end of the season. It's good for lower teams because they're more desperate for money, so they're more likely to accept that. But anyway, so okay, let's go ahead and make this offer. Okay, so they've declined to respond immediately because they're disappointed with the offer made. So what we'll do now is do make offer, and we will wait to see what their response is. So we will continue for the day or two it takes for them to respond. Sorry, I'll just deal with all this stuff. Decline. There we go, so they've rejected it. Okay, so we can ramp it up a bit. We've got some money left from the transfer budget, because remember, our transfer budget is 15 million. Actually, I'm going to go to transfers and do it this way. Incoming. Mullen Schneiderlin. Transfer offer. Here we go. So I've increased that. Let's say after we'll give 3 million, 3 million. Maybe add more here. So now the value of the transfer is 35 million. It's also worth noting actually that you can adjust the transfer budget up here. You can take money out of the wage budget, put it into transfer budget like so. So now I've increased the transfer budget to 18 million. But you want to be careful because this is the amount you're currently spending on wages, and this is the amount in the wage budget. So you don't want this number to come too close to that number, otherwise you run the risk of starting to lose money. And you need money left over in the wage budget for when it comes to offering the contract. But anyway, we'll look a bit more in depth at that when it comes to the contract section anyway. Let's just confirm that. So as you can see, we've increased the value of the transfer to 35 million now, and the transfer budget cost's only gone up to 10.5 million. So let's suggest terms. Okay, they've negotiated us back. They've negotiated us up to transfer for 41 million, but the transfer budget cost is still only 13.25 million. So while this is admittedly a lot of money for this player, we can still afford it now. So I'm going to suggest terms, and they think it's acceptable, so we'll make the offer. And now I will be able to offer a contract to Schneiderlin. Admittedly, in reality, I would not pay 41 million for Schneiderlin, but that's just an example of how if a club's asking big money for a player and you don't have that much up front, it's an example of how to negotiate the price so that you can afford that player, and it's very useful for getting good players. You want to be careful though. You can have a look at the expenditure by going to finances down here, and you can see transfer expenditure and stuff like that, and you've got a financial fair play summary here, And you can see a general summary of all the costs and things like that, so you can keep on top of how much you're spending each month. And you do need to be careful with that. With regards to selling your own players, it largely works in the same way. I'll just show you how to do it though. Let's say we want to get rid of Lucas. We would go to transfer, offer to clubs, we set the price. Let's just, for the sake of the video, I'll lower the price. You can exclude rival clubs, you can propose it to specific clubs, you can add fees, add clauses, all that kind of stuff. Transfer list player and set to not needed, yeah, we'll have that ticked. So let's offer to clubs and see what happens. So now we will get offers for Lucas. I'll just walk away from that contract offer because I want to deal with the contract in a separate video, so we'll ignore the Snyderland contract for now. And let's have a look at the offers that come in for Lucas. Okay, so we've had no offers for Lucas. So what you can do is, in this circumstance, you can ask the player to look for another club. Sometimes they'll do it, sometimes they won't. He's not doing it, okay? That's not ideal because I wanted to show you what happens when you accept bids for a player. So we'll try and offer someone else out. Let's try and offer Martin Skirtle out for 5 million, since Lucas doesn't want to go. There we go. So now we've had a bid for Martin Skirtle. As you can see, it's a similar kind of screen, only Man City have submitted a non-negotiable offer, which means I can't negotiate with them. I can stall the offer, which means that I won't get back to them straight away, which is useful for if maybe I'm relying on selling a player before, or bringing a player in, before I sell Skirtle, then you can do that. But yeah, they've submitted a non-negotiable offer. So sometimes they'll be open for negotiations and you can try and raise the offer, but in this case I can only accept their offer or turn it down. But it's, as you can see, it's pretty much the same as when I make an offer for someone else, but it's in reverse. It's all pretty straightforward in that respect. And then I'll do that, I'll accept the offer, you give them a reason, say the player's not in the club's first team plans, and then do continue, and now they will offer a contract to Martin Skirtle. And then they will come back to you in a bit and you get to confirm the transfer or cancel it at the last minute, depending on, whatever. But anyway, that is more or less the main gist of transfers. So I hope that's helped some of you who are wondering a bit about how to do transfers. One last thing to consider actually before I leave you is when you're bidding for players, lower clubs, like say maybe a League One club, they're going to be more willing to accept a lower offer, because to them, say he was playing for a League One club, unrealistic I know, but for the purpose of this explanation, say he was playing for a League One club but he was valued at 14 million, I could probably get him by bidding 10 million, because to a League One club 10 million is a hell of a lot of money, so they'll be willing to accept that. But say he was playing for Real Madrid and he was valued at 14 million, they're probably not even going to accept 14 million. They're going to want like 25 million, 30 million, because they're not desperate for money, so they're going to be willing to hang on for him to try and get as much money as possible. So that's something to consider as well when making an offer, is you just have to try and find the sweet spot of how much the club is willing to accept. It varies between leagues and clubs and things like that. Anyway, I think that's just about everything for transfers. So like I said, in the next video, I'll have a look at contracts and how to get the best deal in terms of contract, what to watch out for, what to avoid doing. But until then anyway, don't forget to comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Until then, I'll see you around.